Hello, welcome to the Wool Winder podcast. My name is Frances, this is Hugo, and I've popped in to give you a pre-Christmas update about what I've been knitting. So this is the My Dear sweater, and this was what I said on my last video that I would update you about before Christmas if I had the opportunity. It's finished. I'm really pleased with it. It's probably one of the jumpers I'm most pleased with. I can't fault, as you know, usually there's bits and pieces, but I'm just so pleased with it. I'm loving the twisted rib and the way the sleeves come down a little bit, so they're cast off a little bit rapidly there. So I'm loving the way that works. I really love the way the yarn feels. It's from Ripple Crafts, I think, if I remember rightly, and it's got quite a nice drape to it, so it's not too clingy on the body. But so I really like the way it hangs, so that's really nice. Really pleased with that. I think if I was going to, and I also love actually, and the yoke, the pattern of it, I should say thank you to Ailey, the Thoughtful Knitter, because she inspired me to knit, because she's knitted quite a few of these. I love the trees and I love the deer on them. I particularly love their little noses, which are created by some special stitch work. So I'm really pleased with that. And also just the way that it sits in the jumper. It seems to be a really good fit on me. I've got one stitch just round here that I can see, and you may be, Hugo's nose in the way anyway, that's too big. So I'm going to do a little bit of doctor work on that and just tidy that up. And then the other thing that didn't go quite as well as planned, although I was aware it might happen, is that when I went to block it, and I put in my tension square, that wasn't so obvious that there was a problem, but when I started to put the full sweater in, I could see the colour was coming off the red. So I put in some colour catchers and I soaked it up to this point on my jumpers and the sleeves as well, and then I just dunked the rest of it in for a shorter period of time and got away with it. I had a little bit of a test swatch that I was testing out, and I could see that if I left it in for just a minute or two, it didn't seem to be taking the dye. I didn't do it any longer than that, and I felt that will be enough for me to be able to block effectively with it. So yeah, that was a little bit hairy, but we seem to have got away with it. Clearly, whenever I wash this jumper, I'm going to be having to go through the same routine with that, to be super careful that it doesn't run into it. But I do think it's worth it, and given I guess it's a Christmas jumper, it's not like I'm going to be wearing it masses and masses, so I think that's probably well worth it. It's interesting actually, because it's not, I was worried that it might feel too warm, and that's part of the problem, isn't it? We wear these jumpers to places and then we're indoors and it gets quite warm, and you don't really appreciate that warm layer, but actually it's a nice thickness. It's there's enough to keep you warm without feeling really over wrapped up. So I think that's nice. It's a double knit, which is always my preferred thickness to knit in, because it's fairly quick to knit, but it still looks nice on the stitches. Somehow the chunkier yarns, I don't enjoy the finished look of them as much, and my hands don't appreciate the larger needles. Always make my hands ache more. So that is the My Dear sweater. Really good. That was really worth stopping and committing to this over Christmas. And it's interesting that it took me about, I must have started at the end of October. So yeah, it took me 6 or 7 weeks. You're right there, mister. Yeah, we're putting a paw there. Hugo's watching out the window. It looks like the children are breaking up from school for Christmas, and he's just watching all the activity going on out there, aren't you? So he is sitting here quite voluntarily. He does quite enjoy just sitting up and having a cuddle. So you might remember that I talked in my last episode about the advent calendars that I'd bought, and I'd bought one from Fern Yarns and another one from the Camel Yarns. And I've had one from Fern Yarns last year. This one is really quite different, and it's really interesting actually, because I was not sure that I was going to... Both of them are really, I mean, they're beautiful colours. They're hand-dyed yarns and they're they are really lovely. But I wasn't sure that the colours that were in the Blue Fern yarns were going to be for me. And I've actually ended up changing my way round the other way. And I actually think that the colourways have really developed on the Blue Fern Yarns box. And I think actually will make a nice piece to wear. So I think I'm going to make a cowl or a scarf in a slip stitch design. So that will mean that the colours really sort of start to mingle into, each one mingles in a little bit into the next one. So it will create a bit more of a sort of fade look to it. So that's my thought, and I did have the name in my head of the one that I was in particular interested in, so I'm going to pop it up on the screen because of course it slipped my mind and I can't remember it. I should have written it down. So that's what I'm thinking I'm going to do. Obviously now I was looking at it today and thinking, okay, we haven't got many left to open and I've got a lot of balling up to do, of course. And I remember last year when I did it, I was knitting as I was going along, so I'd be opening and balling it up and starting to knit it, if not that day, within a day or two of opening it up as I was going along. Whereas this time I wanted to see the full selection of colours before I committed as to what I was going to knit with it. And that was partly because I didn't have any definite ideas about what I wanted to knit. So here is the Blue Fern Yarn box. Let me just see if I can tip that up enough for you to see into it. I might actually take a photo of that to show you. And it's interesting because so I started off, there we go. I started off on the blues and then we came across to these burgundies, and then it came up along here, and then there started to become greens into the burgundies. And I just think these colours, I thought this was fabulous. It's really love that mixture of colours. And then it's come over here and become very green, and then now there's a lovely sort of green and blue, and again, I think that is just really gorgeous. So they're beautiful, they're looking really nice, and yeah, I'm looking forward to knitting something with those. Now with that box came this little package, a little gift if you like. So I thought I'd have a little look and share with you as to what's in here. There's two little parts to it. So we've got a bottle here. So it's diffuser oil from the Norfolk Apothecary. See that there. Oh. And that's, so I would imagine that you put the oil in there, and then that's a sort of works as a diffuser. Lovely, it's beautiful, very pretty. Right, and then I'll grab the Camel Yarns. So this is the Camel Yarns Advent Calendar. I'll hold that up to you. You can see the very different colours. And this was I think the beachcomber, I think if I remember rightly, is the theme of this one. And we started off down here and came across here and then along there. And I got very excited when we got into these greeny colours down here. And again up here, and they are really beautiful. When I originally got the Advent calendars, my intention more than anything was to do a knitted blanket. And there's a number of patterns that have interested me. I'll just check my notes because I'm clearly not going to remember. So I saw the scrappy stripe pattern. And I also saw a pattern called the Little Squares Knitted Blanket. And both of those looked quite interesting. Feeling with the blanket was that I wanted it to be fairly sort of natural colours. And so this box lends itself really well to that. And I've also got a number of greens and everything. I mentioned last time that I've been collecting a few mini skeins as well. So I am going to need to find I think all of them have got a mutual base colour. So I would need to find a base colour to go. It could be something almost a bit like this one, something to go through it like that. And I'm wondering whether am I going to do something where I decide what the colours are going to be from the beginning, or do I make lots and lots of squares, for example, and then decide what order they're going to be in and sew them up. And that would depend on the pattern, because the pattern will dictate that probably to me as to which way I'm going to do that. So I've not made that decision, or I've not made decisions to which blanket it's going to be, but I'm sort of starting to build on those ideas, and I spent quite a bit of time looking at the different advent calendars. But either way, I think both of them will be lovely ways to show off the advent calendars. So that's really, really lovely. I am tempted, but I think I shouldn't do this because then it would take it away from my blanket. But some of these colours I love so much, I am tempted to take them off and do something else with them. Now, it might be, I'm pretty sure with Blue Fern Yarns, you could buy more of her colourways from last year. So it may be that you can do that with the camel yarns, and in which case I could, do something. So I love these two, for example. But anyway, I'm making way more plans for more than I can ever knit, so I think I just need to slow myself down a little bit and not get too carried away. So that's all my Christmas knitting to share with you. There's lots more knitting going on, and will be lots more knitting, both plans and actual knitting, to share with you in the new year. So I really look forward to being able to talk to you about that, because there is an awful lot I've already got thinking about. So goodness knows where we'll be when we get to the actual new year. But until then, I'm going to leave you and try and get on with addressing the head-on Christmas. I've got people coming to stay from tomorrow, and then stay for a couple of days, and then they go, and then I think the day after that, and then we've got more people coming, and then we're going to be going away for a few days. And I'm actually we're leaving Hugo with some very trusted friends, but that's going to be a bit of a wrench. So it's going to be for a lovely break with the family, but nevertheless that's going to be hard. So so it's going to be busy, but looking forward to catching up with you in the new year. So I'm going to leave you by sharing with you some of the local postbox toppers that have been done around this area. You might remember that I shared some last year, but we seem to be so lucky with the ladies that knit them. Knit and crochet, actually, and a lot are crochet, but they are so lovely. And there's a whole new selection this year, and they're looking really lovely. So I'll share those and a little bit of a walk with Hugo. That just leaves me to wish you a Merry Christmas, or however you're spending this festive time. Have a lovely break, and I look forward to sharing lots of knitting news with you in the new year. So until then, take care and bye-bye. Why can't I remember who the other one's from? No, I don't know either. No, don't you? Yeah, do you remember? What they? Camel yarns. That's what they're called. I remember now.